Tonight, minority and majority sides clash over NDC Asin North MP, who is today facing criminal charges including forgery and perjury. He is nowhere to be found as court registrars go after him, but NDC MPs are warning they will resist it as they allege a conspiracy to reduce their numbers ahead of the crucial vote on the e-levy.
Any attempt to use the courts to tilt the balance of power will be the gravest danger to the sustenance of our multi-party democratic system. We shall continue with all our might to resist of the despotic Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo regime.
But the majority side say whether he is found or not, they will henceforth make sure the Asin North MP does not participate in any parliamentary business.
He should not be in the chamber, because if he
should not be in the chamber
at all, because they've declared that he's not an MP. We should allow the speaker that a stranger is in the chamber.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. It's also brought to you by Prime Insurance. Tonight there is tension in Parliament over NDC Asin North MP James Dachikwesing, who is today facing criminal charges, including forgery and perjury. He's nowhere to be found, though, as court registrars go after him. State prosecutors have leveled serious allegations against him, also including deceit of a public officer, among others, against the Asin North MP. The last few days has seen a spirited effort by various actors to get the MP not to perform his legislative duties. You may recall a High Court in July last year ruled that the MP was not eligible to contest the 2020 polls. He's still fighting that matter at the Court of Appeal, but the state was today through the Attorney General triggered criminal prosecution and charges against him, though the MP, we understand, cannot still be found. As we speak, there are two court processes that he needs to be served with, both at the Supreme Court and today at the High Court, and in both cases the court registrars cannot find him. As we are learning today at a news conference, the NDC MPs are closing ranks now, uniting, saying they will resist any attempt because they believe this is part of what they call a grand conspiracy to reduce their numbers ahead of the crucial vote on the e-levy. There's a lot to get to through for you tonight on this unfolding story. But first, let's bring you the facts as we know it. We secured a copy of the charge sheet and the details that the Attorney General filed today at the High Court. My colleague Kwekwa Asante joins me in the studio with details of this. There are 5 counts, 5 separate charges now that he's facing. Very serious charges. Let's go through them.
Yes, 5 counts, Evans. And the antecedent to these charges are very interesting. According to Madam Obuobisa, who is actually the Director of Public Prosecution, the state received a complaint on the 11th of January. That is just days after the election of the Speaker, and the MP had evaded service, sort of, and still voted in that process. And so the 5 counts. The first count, Evans, is deceit of public officer, contrary to Section 251B of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29. And so if you go to the specific of this act, what the offence this MP is said to have committed is that on the 29th of July at the passport office, he is said to have made some claims that were found out not to be true and not consistent with the issues that he had raised to receive a passport. And so when he went to the passport office, he had told them that he did not have any dual citizenship. And according to this charge sheet, it turns out that he did have a dual citizenship at the time. And so that is the first count that he has been charged with. The second, having to do with forgery of passport or travel certificate, contrary to Section 15(1)(b) of the Passports and Travel Certificates Act. The particulars goes on to say that on 26th of July 2019 at the same passport office, Evans, he made a false statement that he did not have dual citizenship for the purpose of procuring a passport. And you know, Evans, when you are filling a passport form, you are asked whether you are a citizen of Ghana, and also whether or not you hold any other citizenship. According to this second count, he also said that he did not hold any dual citizenship and actually went on to fill the form to receive a passport.
So that's forgery of passport. And
Yeah.
then he's also facing a third count of knowingly making a false declaration, a statutory declaration. And this, again, it relates to the declarations he has made that he does not owe an allegiance to any country other than Ghana, a statement which, according to the AG, he knew to be false
At the time of
and
making
yet
them.
he still made it. But there's more serious charges that have been filed against him relating to issues surrounding registrations to contest, particularly the issue of perjury, which is the count 4.
Yeah.
What are the details there?
So on count 4, he is said to have perjured himself contrary to section 210 of the Criminal Offences Act, and that he made false statements at a sinful suit, which he knew not to be true at the time of making them. And what the reading into this is that whilst he was filling his forms to contest for Member of Parliament, he was asked by the Electoral Commission, and they swore the oath at a sinful suit to say that he did not owe allegiance to any other country apart from Ghana. And we know that if you owe any allegiance to another country apart from Ghana, then you cannot contest for MP. This James Jachikwesin is said to have said that he did not owe any allegiance to any country. If you look at count 5, which is closely related to the count 4, it says that on or about the 8th of October, the Electoral Commission office, he knowingly used a declaration that he did not owe any allegiance to any other country. We know that this issue actually came up with the Electoral Commissioner to try and resolve when someone filed a complaint at the Electoral Commission. What we know is that, and per this particulars of offences that have been filed in court, James Jachikwesin insisted to the Electoral Commission that he did not owe any allegiance to any other country apart from Ghana,
So-
to which the Electoral Commission actually processed his forms to enable him contest for the Member of Parliament.
So those are the 5 criminal charges that he's facing tonight, and this came up in court today. He wasn't there, but he had to be served with these processes. As we speak, the court registrar is still looking for him to serve him with these. Remember that earlier this week, another case was filed against him, this time at the Supreme Court. The MPP very involved in that, filing for him to be injuncted, for the Supreme Court to stop him from carrying out his parliamentary duties on the back of the High Court's ruling last year that he cannot hold himself out as a member of parliament, and so they're seeking an injunction from the Supreme Court that he cannot carry himself out as an MP. That was earlier this week, and then today the criminal charges have been also thrown at him, and so that is what this time it is the AG, the state, that is filing these charges against him. As we speak tonight, there's no clarity yet whether he's been found or not. In the first instance, in the Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court asked the registrar to serve him not as an MP, but in his personal capacity, because he tried before to use the parliamentary process to serve him. The speaker was absent, and so that led that process hanging. The court says, well, there's a standing judgment against him, serve him in his personal capacity. We wait to see yet whether they find him to serve with these two processes. But today, the minority side, they've been holding an emergency press conference on this matter. The minority leader, Harun Edrisu, is clear that this is part of a conspiracy to reduce their numbers in the House, and he served notice that the process, as the Attorney General has commenced today, is illegal.
Whether Honorable James Christian was qualified to stand as an MP is a question of law, which is pending before the Court of Appeal. And by all standards, it stands next to the Supreme Court in terms of judicial hierarchical authority and mandate. Before the Court of Appeal, KEPCOs, as well as the Supreme Court, in various suits, also an application for stay of execution of the KEPCO's High Court's annulment as sin of parliamentary election filed by Honorable Christian is still pending before the Court of Appeal. Under the circumstances, the lawful and reasonable thing for the Ghana police, the ruling New Patriotic Party government, and their surrogates to do is to abide by the decision of the Court of Appeal on these processes as their modicum contribution to the respect for the principles of rule of law. Any attempt by the police to prosecute Honorable James Kwesi on the conclusion or assumption that he was not or is not qualified to contest the 2020 parliamentary election, pending a final decision by the Superior Court, is only prejudicial of the Court of Appeal and therefore contemptuous of the Court of Appeal. It is obvious that the desperate Akufo-Addo government, the Attorney General Office and the police administration are acting in bad faith to get an unfair advantage in Parliament for the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia government in its unbridled quest to pass the unpopular insensitive A levy, which remains a major disincentive to the development of our digital economy and an apparent disregard for their own quest for a cash-light economy.
He says the minority side, they have resolved to resist what he believes to be this conspiracy.
We shall continue with all our might to resist these desperations of the despotic Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo regime and those use of crude Machiavellian tactics to reduce our numbers without respect to the rule of law and respect to our court's hierarchy and its authority as an independent, neutral arbiter on these matters. Any attempt to use the courts to tilt the balance of power will be the gravest danger to the sustenance of our multi-party democratic system when we lose faith and confidence in the independent judiciary. So we pray and hope that they will not use the courts to tilt the balance of power. We continue to uphold the
Well, the majority side have, of course, been disagreeing with the position taken by the minority. The chairman of the Land and Natural Resources, the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, who himself is a renowned legal practitioner, Mr. Tacha, has been very firm on the matter that as far as they are concerned on their side, Mr. Jatu Kwesi cannot hold himself, and they will draw the Speaker's attention to ensure that he is not allowed to participate in parliamentary business. He joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Tachi, I'm grateful for your time here on Newsnight.
My pleasure, sir.
Okay.
My pleasure, sir.
Also on the telephone line with me is your good friend and colleague Muntaka Mubarak. He is a minority chief whip, and he's on the telephone line with me. Mr. Muntaka Mubarak, I'm grateful that you joined me, sir.
Good evening to you and your listeners.
Mr. Mubarak, let me start with you. I mean, I just had Harun Edrisu talk about that this is part of a plan to reduce your numbers ahead of the crucial e-levy vote. But if you look at it strictly, these are simply matters of law that the courts are considering. Indeed, this case predates anything that has to do with the e-levy. So how do you draw that link there?
Well, why are they not waiting to allow the processes to end? Why are they in a hurry to prefer criminal charges against him? The matter was in the High Court, as we all know. Yes, the High Court annulled the 2020 election of Assin North, and it was challenged in the Appeals Court, and then a stay of execution was filed, which is pending at the Appeals Court. And you know the interesting thing, the Honorable Kwesi's lawyers have been putting a strong case that this is a matter of dual citizenship or citizenship that needs to go to a Supreme Court. And the lawyers and the government have insisted and were always resisting it at the Appeals Court, only to go behind the lawyers of Assin North MP to appear at the Supreme Court to talk about the same thing. Now they didn't get their way clear because what they wanted to do, they went as party try to go to Supreme Court without even the knowledge of the lawyers of Honorable Honorable James Quayson. When the Supreme Court turned them down, said, no, you cannot bring this sort of grave matter and want us to consider them as party. Therefore, go serve him. Now, all of a sudden, they start criminal prosecutions. And we believe this is contemptuous of both the appeals court and the Supreme Court. Because you have a matter that is there. Why are you so desperate? It is simple. I mean, you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you their desperation is to do whatever they can to reduce our number in the House. And that's what we are saying. Well, let's see how they do it, because we are going to resist that. You remember on the first day, they tried to use this same dubious means to try to bring in the notice to the clerk to serve, and we drew the attention. That cannot be done. You need to get him to serve him. And that's why on that day he voted, because we told them that they cannot do what they are trying to do. Now it's very interesting to let you know that when they wanted to bring frivolous charges of crime against him, they routed it through Speaker. He was made available. They came to meet him at the Speaker's conference, took his statement. Yes, he had a lawyer to guide him, and then charged him. Now they want to go to court. They don't want to use the same process. They decided to go behind and at the High Court today. And I'm grateful that some judges are beginning to wake up to the reality that even if it's at the peril of their life, they will have defend our democracy and will not do as government wish. The High Court judge refused them an arrest warrant for the member of parliament. Why? Because all they try to do is to use intimidation, to use frustration, to try to use illegitimate processes to just dim our numbers. We are assuring them, the more they do this, they are radicalizing our side, they are even making a more resolve, and they are really rather putting the fire in us up to resist what they are trying to do. And I don't think it's good for our democracy. They should just know that, look, you are in a pit. You are digging, you are sinking, and you continue to dig. We would tell them that, well, you can use whatever means available to you to try to frustrate, intimidate, but remember, we'll meet in the chamber. And in that chamber, you cannot frustrate us.
Well, Mr. Mubarak, stay with me. Let me bring in Mr. Thatcher, lawyer himself, chairs the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. Mr. Thatcher, so you are a lawyer, and in an earlier conversation with my parliamentary correspondent, you mentioned that the Attorney General didn't file the criminal charges before because he was being, of course, smart about it. Wait for the civil case to conclude and then, of course, move. That civil case is not done, but he's moved already. The minority side say it's only because you are desperate and there's e-levy at stake.
Well, let me first put it on record that people should be law-abiding, especially the so-called lawmakers. What can you do at the floor of the chamber? Hooliganism. Things that if you were outside the chamber, they would have just arrested you and then you face charges. So please, we shouldn't put any kind of premium on what somebody wants to dare, the system in the chamber. Because at the end of the day, people are looking at us. The man that people are so anxious to defend, you understand? The matters were in court. It was not in the NDC headquarters, I'm afraid. So there's a justice delivery system. And my friend Mutaka should come to terms with that and the rest of them. And when any man is using any avenue to try to get an advantage and is in the court, he will fall on his own sword or he'll be glorifying the court. And that's how it plays out. I'm afraid the Attorney General has enough sense to know that while the civil case is going on, the same people would have even complained that, look, the civil case is going on, he might lose the case, so he's hauled in before the criminal court. So sensitivity and discretion dawn on him. Now let me wait until the civil case is concluded, then I'll deal with the criminal matters. And I've told people time with that number that it is not NPP that engineered the criminal matters. The criminal matters started when the man filed the processes that he wants to be voted on as a member of parliament. These are not matters that were engineered by Nana Akufo-Addo. So what is the point? So are we saying, therefore, that because there's a levy, e-levy before the parliament, and somebody is audacious enough to go and cut the throat of the wife, and is a member of parliament, we should suspend the laws of Ghana because there is an e-levy before parliament?
But Mr. Thatcher,
that is an absurdity.
The civil case that was determined by the High Court is currently being appealed. There's an appeals court. That process is still pretty live. And yet the criminal case has started.
You know that the appeal has overturned the High Court case. So the decision of the High Court is subsistent. That's trial learning. Yes. You see, so when you appeal a case, you don't have automatic reversal of what happened in the High Court. So I'm afraid, I don't know why people are worrying themselves about the court working and some of the judges are now awake and all that. You can run your commentary somewhere, but don't try to influence what the judiciary is doing, because they don't do anything when we are doing our legislative assignment.
So as far as you're concerned, the High Court's decision that says he cannot hold himself out as an MP is still live and subsisting. And I've heard you argue in our interview with us that henceforth, when this matter comes up and you see him, you're going to draw the Speaker's attention to remove him from the chamber.
Certainly, because then the Speaker and the rest of the members of the chamber will be promoting lawlessness when we say that he's no longer a member of parliament. That means he's a stranger to the parliament. He can't enter the House floor to do business. And we will draw the Speaker's attention to that hard fact that there's a stranger in our midst until he's hallowed by the courts. He's no longer a member of parliament. Period. He can take it up to the Supreme Court level until he's cleansed totally. Now look, you are not contaminated. There's nothing wrong with you. You have been validly elected as a member of parliament. He's not a member of parliament. Until that is done by the very court that determined, the matter, he's not a member of parliament. And it will be very weird that a stranger to parliament will enter the House floor and purport to deliberate on matters affecting parliament. You can't do that.
Muntaka Mubarak, he's a stranger, as you know, because as he's explained, that High Court decision hasn't been overturned, and so he cannot hold himself as an MP, and that's what both cases are seeking to do.
I'm surprised that my colleague Honorable Thatcher is speaking the way he's speaking. If not being influenced by his party views, I don't see why he's talking the way he's talking. He knows that they did file stay of execution at the appeals court. And when that happens, he knows our rules permit him. And this came up in his committee at the privileges, where even the first deputy speaker is chairing, and it was proving to the first deputy speaker existing law. That is that once he has filed and that matter is pending, he continues. Secondly, this matter came up, and the speaker wrote to say that the legal processes have not been exhausted because the member has still filed stay of execution at the appeals court and is pending until those matters are exhausted. He still remains a member of parliament, and that is why he continues to receive his salary. That's why he continues to be in the chamber. And remember, this happened in 2020, sometime I think around July, and since then we have had several things in parliament. He had voted; they never saw anything wrong with it. All of a sudden, there's e-levy. They are now waking up to realization that he shouldn't have been a member of parliament, and they are running helter-skelter. That is why we are talking about the desperation. Because the High Court decision didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen this month. It didn't happen last month. It didn't even happen in the last 3 months. It has happened in the last probably 7 months or so. All of a sudden now, they are waking up to the reality that, they have to profess criminal charges against him. And this is exactly what we are pointing out. That the desperation, and let me remind my colleague Honorable Thatcher that nobody is talking about hooliganism. When you decide to turn the rules upside down, and do as you please, that is what we try to stop. And we always and will continue to stop you anytime you try to do that.
But Mr. Mubarak,
we all have our standard orders, we all have our constitution, we can argue it out forever on the floor.
Yeah,
but where you decide that you want to turn it outside and do as you please, then obviously you leave us with no option than to stop you.
Mr. Mubarak,
And
as
I
we
assure
speak,
you, we will continue to do.
As we speak tonight, there's a Supreme Court registrar who's looking for Mr. Judge Kwesing. There's now a High Court registrar who is also looking for Judge Kwesing to serve in two processes, one criminal, one civil, attempting to injunct him. They can't find him. I mean, you are his leader. Where is he?
Have they gone through the process? Because you see, like
no, but
said,
in the Supreme Court case, I mean, just in the Supreme Court case, they tried
to go and look for him.
Exactly. Yes.
I can assure you, the day before yesterday, we were with him in the chamber, and he was in the house. It is yesterday and today that I haven't seen him. But the day before yesterday, we were together in the house, and I know that I want to be assured that he's around. If you can't find him, obviously it's not for me to, because I don't know where all my 137 members stay. But what I know
you are the minority chief whip.
Before yesterday.
You are the minority chief whip. You whip all of them. When you need them, you leave it tonight. You find all of them. You can't find him. You don't know where.
Yes, if I have to, yes, I have to. But nobody has asked me to look for him. Remember, I don't work in the court, and the court has not mandated me to look for him. So I'm not to look for him. But when I need him, I'll find him.
But let me ask you. I mean, we had Atachan say that as far as they are concerned, they are no longer going to allow him to sit in the house. They're going to call the speaker's attention to make sure he's removed. What is your
when we
reaction
get
to that?
there, then we'll see how the speaker is going to order him out of the chamber.
Well,
Because
remember that
the speaker's attention, and we equally draw the speaker's attention to the stay of execution that is pending in the appeals court, the case that is at the Supreme Court, and all the processes, and we'll remind the speaker that this didn't start only in this February. And at Honorable Kwesing was there when we did vote for the 2021 budget. He was there. We approved all manner of loans. He was there when we approved the 2022 budget. We've done so many other things with him in the chamber. It cannot be because of E-Lady now, all of a sudden, that they are now waking up to say that, so far as they are concerned, he's not a member of parliament. He will continue to be a member of parliament until the matter is determined.
I mean, Mr. Tachia, finally to you. I mean, as we speak tonight, we know, as we said, the two courts are looking. Supreme Court registrar is looking for him. High Court registrar is looking for him. He cannot be found. It assumed that he's not aware of the processes that has been filed because he's not being served. And so if he's not being served, he can still go about doing his work.
How can he go about doing his work when the High Court has pronounced that he is no longer a member of parliament? And he says it's law-abiding. Any attempt to evade service, even by this media, you see, and you pointed out to, my colleague, that he can whip everybody into line and let them know what is going on. So they are the ones who are lawless, you see, because they are aware that they are looking for him. But it is very convenient to say that, look, he can't be found, and then he will come to the chamber to come and do business. You see, insofar as he has filed an application for stay of execution pending an appeal, it doesn't entitle him to come to the chamber. What interpretation of law is that? The very matter that you want the court to determine, you want to prejudge it that you are already a member of parliament and you are coming to the chamber. You understand? So the stay of execution applies to him also. That you don't have to subvert what the judge has done in the High Court until the so-called application is determined. That is the whole point of the matter. I do not see you file stay of execution and then you say that I have a right to become a member of parliament when the judgment is subsisting and it's against you. The filing of the stay of execution is an appeal determined. Is that what Honorable Mutaka is trying to say and interpret the law that way? The stay of execution is not an appeal determined. The High Court decision is still against him. And we should bear that in mind. But let me sound this as a very important point of caution to everybody. You see, if people believe that any time something goes against them, their remedy is to practice hooliganism in the House floor, because somebody is very daring now. I can even go and hold the throat of the speaker. I'm afraid it's not going to go on that way. And let's bear in mind that we are supposed to be honorable members of parliament. Are we there in the boxing ring? That when you lose an intellectual argument, your recourse is what? To go and take a chair that the speaker is sitting on because it didn't go your way. We shouldn't promote that. And my good friend is very, very old in the chamber. We shouldn't promote that. If anybody wants to go physical, I'm telling you that nobody can practice criminality and go away scot-free, even in the chamber. If you slap a man in the chamber, do you think it's not a criminal offense? Or you think that you have immunity to slap somebody when you are at plenary? The law will not be interpreted that way this time around.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Thatcher. Thank you very much, Mr. Muntaka Mubarak. Well, what do you make of this? This is your parliament, and as you know, there's a lot now happening as far as the court process is concerned. 2 court registers, one for the Supreme Court, one today for the High Court. All of them looking for one man, the Asin North MP, to serve him. High Court refused the NLC's request to enjoin the strike. We have details on the